The more we analyze the black cat, the less and less I like him around Coraline. He knows too much and says too little. Like, if you're a neutral observer, then be neutral and don't interact. If you're indifferent to Coraline's fate, then don't interact. If you aren't going to actually help her, then just don't interact. But this cat appears at every pivotal interval to do a vague info dump and then run away instead of just telling Coraline what's going on or what to do. This cat is like a therapist. I can't just tell you what I see that's wrong with your life. You have to come to that fulfilling conclusion on your own. Well, Brad, you could have saved me from 30 bad relationships if you would have just spoken up. But sure, I'm paying you so that you can not be helpful. But now this cat has appeared again to show Coraline what happened to her parents and to lure her back into the other world when she just barely got away the last time. No, sir, I don't like it. And I like what he's about to do in this next scene even less. Hey guys, I'm Megan. According to my posting schedule, I am getting married today. This is the Fangirl, and we are getting into the part of Coraline where we might do some pretty major mental gymnastics. So, just a very brief refresher that we have no evidence as to whether or not Coraline ever goes home again after entering the other world for the first time. However, we can confirm that after Other YB shoved her through the cobweb tunnel with all the kid-used objects, Coraline 100% did not get home. And it's all proven by this plushie, which has a normal single squid pointed head in the real world, but cat ears in the other world. So Coraline thinks she's gotten back to the real world. She really believes that, but she's truly just in a holding cell in another part of the other world. Kind of like going into an old attic and pulling the stairs up behind you. And because this terrible cat showed Coraline that her parents are trapped somewhere, not even specifically where, along with the fact that a button-eyed doll lured them away, which also makes absolutely no sense. Did her parents take off because the doll enticed them? Or did they leave to go find their missing daughter? That extra creepy doll is just a hat on a hat. But long story short, the Jones parents are missing, and Coraline just grabs some barely useful items before opening the door to go rescue her family in the other world. Or I guess more specifically, the first layer of the other world, because Coraline is still up somewhere in the other world sphere. So as Coraline opens the small door with a lit candle and crawls inside, my first thought of terror is, oh my gosh, aren't those spider webs super flammable? Because this girl has lit a candle to crawl with when, wouldn't her best option be to have no lighting and let her eyes adjust to the darkness? Also, I really hope her pajamas are flame retardant, because that was a big problem in the early 2000s. The second thing I take issue with in the tunnel is that all of the toy and clothing debris that was previously in there is now missing. Now, it is still gray and full of cobwebs, so most people assume that it's the same tunnel, but it definitely isn't. And yes, some people do liken the tunnel to a throat or digestive tract. So surely some people are going to comment that those items that were in there were either swallowed or digested. But I don't believe that's right, because those items have been there for decades and haven't moved. And we still have cobwebs everywhere, which wouldn't be the case if something really did dislodge and flush everything out of that tunnel. No, I think that last tunnel with the toys has been used over and over again to get these kids trapped in the other world. And this here is a different tunnel taking Coraline to a different place. I mean, we've even watched that tunnel move with our own eyes in this movie. I believe the first 2 times Coraline opens the door, the tunnel connects to the door on the other side. So I believe these these tunnels move around similarly to the staircases in Harry Potter. They are not a stagnant, constant set of tunnels. And when you have somebody who can change reality like the BELDAM, it's going to be really hard to notice if these are the same tunnels going to the same places, and that's kind of the point, to make it confusing. The third thing that bugs me is that while Coraline is all determined and going forward, the black cat starts immediately talking as soon as he crosses the threshold of the small doorway. He tells Coraline, "You know you're walking right into her trap." Oh, really, kitty? Snark is all you can offer after you literally left Coraline a trail of breadcrumbs to force her to go back to the other world? Ugh, I don't like this cat. But when Coraline insists on continuing to save her parents, then the cat says to challenge the BELDAM, and that she won't play fair, but she won't refuse either because she has a thing for games. And the way the cat squints his eyes like he's sinisterly up to something doesn't sit well with me either. How would the cat know about the game thing? And if the BELDAM is so keen on games, why doesn't the cat play games with her to get things? The only thing he says similar to that is, "Oh, I go through these holes and she tries to close them. It's a little game we play." But it's not. You are a pest that is annoying her. It's not like cat and mouse where the cat is the mouse. Also, anyone else ever notice that the cat doesn't refer to the other mother by any kind of name? He always just says she or her, and that reminds me of the ancient religions where you don't say a god's name for fear that you might evoke their attention. Like Persephone means something like harbinger of death, but she's also known as Kore, which I think is Kore, I don't know, which means like maiden. And there's this thought process that people would call her Kore instead of Persephone because you did not want Persephone's attention. She was the bringer of doom. And as Coraline agrees to challenge the BELDAM, which, frankly, sounds like more of a trap than anything else, because then Coraline would be making a pseudo-contract with this unknown entity, but then the door to the other world cracks open, and the resulting wind puts out Coraline's candle. Again, this is why it's better to just let your eyes adjust to the darkness, because now Coraline can't see very clearly. She just suddenly hears her mother's voice as a mom-looking figure appears in the doorway. Now, this is a dark moment, but let me adjust the brightness on this screenshot to show you that this version of Mel has realistic human eyes right now. So to all of you who say I'm crazy and overthink this movie, tell me, what is the benefit of the BELDAM doing this if her intention isn't to make Coraline unable to tell reality from tricks? Because Coraline was already coming through that tunnel. She wasn't wavering about whether or not to head back. And all the sight of Mel does is bring her in a little bit faster for no beneficial reason. So Coraline does a squat run to Mel, again showing us that this is not the same tunnel she went through earlier because she was fully standing and running in that other one. But as Coraline bear hugs what she thinks is her mother, the creature starts transforming to the elongated BELDAM, and we see her realistic eyes morphing back to buttons. See, that proves that the buttons are a needless item that are only being used to make Coraline think she can tell what's the real world and what's the other world. But the BELDAM doesn't need the buttons. It's an aesthetic choice. It also proves to us that the BELDAM can look exactly like Mel and Coraline doesn't know the difference, which of course will be important for the end of the movie. So this whole moment, while iconic, is actually more of a beta test for the BELDAM's Mel body. I also believe that that brief bear hug was needed by the BELDAM for her to recharge a little more power, because she seems to be dragging more and more as we get to the end of the film. And as I mentioned previously, my theory is that the BELDAM eats love, not actual children. But because children give the most unconditional love to their parents, that's where she gets the most energy to feed off of. And that's why the ghost kids say, she ate up our lives, and not, she ate us. Because the beldam took time and love and energy from the kids, but she didn't devour their flesh and bone. After all, if the beldam were a killer, why is she keeping Mel and Charlie alive right now? The parentified doll would have been enough of a clue to get Coraline back into the other world, so the parents aren't needed at all. Although that does assume that the beldam even has the real parents and those aren't just more puppets. Anyways, Coraline gets very irritated and demands to know where her parents are. And the other mother gives us such a strange answer saying, oh, I don't know where your old parents are. Maybe they got bored of you and ran away to France. That's so oddly specific. And Coraline claps back, proclaiming that the other mother stole her parents, as the other father, getting very squashy looking, waddles over, picks Coraline up, and puts her in a bug chair where she gets kind of locked up in it. Then with a little bend and clap near the tiny door, a rat comes skipping down the tunnel with the button key. And the beldam locks the door, gets the big bug dresser to sit on top of the exit again, and then swallows the key. Which, that's kind of overkill, isn't it? If Coraline picked the lock, the beldam could make the exit into a brick wall again, so what's the point of blocking it? And why wasn't it a brick wall when other Wybie opened that tunnel? See, the more you think about it, this is all to make Coraline feel like escape is impossible. And it's also that her contrarian nature will fight harder to go through that door later. Major reverse psychology here. Not to mention, the other father chiming in is also reverse psychology. When Coraline asks the beldam why she doesn't have her own key, the other father says, there's only one key, which upsets the other mother, and she pulls a sprout coming out of his ear to shut him up. And the beldam just drags the other father out of the room, saying that the garden squash need to be tended to, while he sings to himself, squish, squash, squish, squash. And as soon as they leave the room, the armchair loosens its grip on Coraline. But why? No one is watching her right now, so that's when she needs to be the most restrained. And as the lights in the living room dim, we hear the squeaking noise that we heard at the mirror when Mel was writing out "Help us." And Coraline immediately recognizes the noise and responds with, "Mom, Dad, where'd she hide you?" And the camera pans back to show us a large chunk of the room. And it is so masterful that we see the Detroit Zoo snow globe on the mantle, but now we can't see inside of it. It's whited out from the snow. So the object holding her parents is right there in front of her, but it's hidden in plain sight. And clearly, this has all been a big setup to keep Coraline's brain from being able to focus and process. Because the squeaky noise wasn't happening when the beldam was in the room, but the snow globe is so covered in snow that there's no way the Jones parents could have known that the beldam left or that she was ever in that room to begin with. It's also too convenient that the armchair let her go and the lights dimmed just as Coraline needed to see. But like everything else in the other world, before Coraline can think anything through, the beldam calls out that it's breakfast time, and Coraline slowly walks into the kitchen, which disrupts her ability to logic things out. And that's where we'll pause for this week, because there was a lot more detail to discuss in that moment than I realized. So on to comet appreciation. BB Maxworld says, if Coraline is still in the other world, that means that the beldam purposefully made the shopping rot to make her think she was missing in the real world for weeks. And yeah, I think that does add to the sense of urgency that Coraline's gonna feel, especially after she sees the mom and dad doll. But then again, time is very wibbly wobbly in this movie, and nobody in the film acknowledges it, and that makes me crazy. Also, I just realized that Wybie has a lazy eye, which might not be story relevant, but a cool little detail. I did not notice that either. People explain to me, how can you tell that somebody has a lazy eye? This is out of my field of knowledge, but now I am curious. And does other YB have a lazy eye? I guess you can't tell because of the buttons, but still, I want to know. Then Denise Jeffries, 2675, commented, could you elaborate on your comment that as a parent, you found it atypical for Mel to set down the groceries and realizing her daughter was missing, she didn't just continue to put the groceries away. To me, it seemed rather appropriate. Wouldn't Mel be kind of panicked? Okay, let me go back and try to re-explain this. Maybe I didn't explain myself very well before, or maybe I edited it poorly and it didn't come off the way I wanted. But what I found weird about the groceries sitting out is that as a parent, you walk into the house with the groceries, and if you need help in any way, maybe you call out for your kids. But having only one bag of groceries to put away, it would be really strange and atypical for me to be like, oh, my kid didn't respond to come help me, let me go track them down and make them help me. No, I would have put what I had away that was perishable and then go looking for the kid. You know, Coraline's not a baby, so I wouldn't immediately walk in the house and be like, oh, where is she? I need to have eyes on her right now. I would finish the task I was doing before maybe trying to look for my kid. And who knows, maybe she would have had headphones on, maybe she went outside to play with the neighborhood kids. There's all kinds of reasons why my kid might not come to help me when I come in the door with groceries, so you just do it yourself. That's natural to me. And also, the kitchen is kind of on the opposite end of the house from the living room, so it's not like Mel walked in the house, looked over, and could see the little door from the kitchen. There's a dining room, dad's office, and a hallway in between the kitchen and that little door, so Mel couldn't see it. So yeah, that's what feels unnatural to me, is that somebody came into the house with groceries and then started another task of trying to locate a person before putting those groceries away. I have ADHD brain. I need to finish what I'm doing or I will forget to finish it. So Denise, I hope I've elaborated enough for it to make sense now. And then this is a comment from an older video from Scene 8. Heather is not cool said, yes, my fellow turkey dislikers. Thank you. I don't know that I've seen anybody else say that turkey is not a good meat. It stinks. It smells like butt. I don't like turkey. And finally, Goo One-ish said that in my heart, I truly long for the black cat to be Coraline's ally, even when the evidence points against it. A lot of people feel that way. I get it. The cat is an interesting character, and in general, I'm very prone to like cats, but yeah, this particular black cat, I don't think he's a good boy. I think he's something entirely different that we are never going to know the full story of. But thank you guys for your comments, and I can't wait to keep talking next week. I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. And to any of my members here on YouTube, a huge bottom of my heart thank you for all of your help and support. If you would like to become a paid channel member, there is a link in the description below. Thanks again, guys. Love you. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that? Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members.